a quorum. And so with that, the next item is to adopt the agenda. There's a motion to adopt the agenda by Bakhtiari, second by Winston. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The agenda is adopted, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Next item is the approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Bakhtiari, second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
All right, the minutes are approved, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Colleagues, the next item is our 2023 Community Development Human Services goals and objectives. You all should have had those in your inbox. I know we had a couple of months to be able to provide comments in addition to that. And so with that being said, any discussion on that before I entertain a motion to adopt? And for the public, just so you know, those goals and objectives will be posted online just like they were last year. We have some pretty lofty goals. I know we're going to continue to have some pretty lofty goals. Any other comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I will go ahead and motion to adopt the 2023 Community Development Human Services goals and objectives. Second by Winston. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
All right, motion carries, 4 yeas, 0 nays. One second, the computer is computering. All right, next item, on to communications. If you could sound the, public comment. See, so what happens when you get scheduled for jury duty. We had 3 people speaking at public comment today. Just a reminder for our public commenters, we'll give you 3 minutes. Roughly at the 32nd minute mark, I will whisper gently into the microphone to let you know that you have 30 seconds. 30 seconds. That's how it will sound. Our first public speaker is Rachel Maher. Maher.
Yep.
Thank you. Maher. Got it. You have 3 minutes.
Great, thank you. So again, my name is Rachel Marr. I'm the Director of Communications and Policy at Park Pride. Park Pride has been a trusted partner to communities and the City of Atlanta for over 30 years, engaging communities to activate the power of parks. I am here today to insist on an increase in the FY 2024 budget for park maintenance. An article written by myself and Park Pride's executive director is appearing in the supporter report called Aspiring to a Higher Standard for Our Parks, and I believe you all have a copy of that in front of you now, but I'd wanted to elevate a few points. Great parks are good for people, communities, the environment, and cities. We learned how true the statement is during the pandemic. You may recall at the time that it was a question as to whether parks would remain open. When we couldn't be inside at a restaurant or a sports event, park visitation spiked and appreciation for green spaces and trails soared. The relief that parks gave us during the pandemic, physically, mentally, socially, was beyond measure. With more foot traffic in park came more litter and trash, and sometimes it piled up and overflowed out of the cans. Some people said that our parks were being loved to death as other signs of wear and tear appeared that couldn't be addressed as quickly as it appeared. There was simply no time. But we were grateful to our park workers, who are frontline workers, who showed up every day doing all they could to keep our parks clean and maintained. Fast forward to election season in 2021, everyone's talking about opening up, restaffing, coming back better, stronger, and more resilient. And Atlanta's parks and rec facilities were well positioned to be a part of the city's rejuvenation. In fact, in December of 2021, City Council unanimously adopted Activate ATL, a comprehensive plan for parks and rec that represents an extraordinary vision for a robust, well-maintained, and equitable park system that provides health benefits, amenities, and the experiences that Atlantans deserve. But now it's 2023, and when I look around at the state of our parks, it feels like momentum in pursuit of that vision has slowed, challenged by barriers. For example, the serious understaffing of the Department of Parks and Recreation. As of December 2022, 26% of full-time positions in DPR were vacant. And while the department has actively been promoting full-time positions, their efforts have been hindered by funding restrictions that have kept 64% of those vacant positions, more than half, unfillable because they were unfunded. The negative impact of these staffing changes and shortages on the upkeep of our cherished green spaces cannot be overstated. This is not a criticism of the hard work and dedicated staff of the crews that serve our community. It's about numbers and facts. DPR has too few people to maintain the over 4,000 park acres for which it's responsible, and it's too few people because the budget is inadequate for the department's needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maher. All right, up next we have Michael Halicki.
Hello, everyone. So again, I'm Michael Halicki, Executive Director for Park Pride, and I also am here to urge you to increase the FY 2024 budget for park maintenance. As we aspire to a higher standard for our parks, I think it's important to recognize that park maintenance is not a new issue. It goes back decades. It's a chronic issue that needs our attention now. For those who feel we already put a lot of resources towards our parks, let's dig a little deeper to understand the facts that bring me here today. In recent years, thanks to both public and private support, Atlanta has seen some significant park investments in some spectacular parks. These parks include West Side Park and Cook Park. The city has acquired 260 acres of green space last year and has an additional 80 acres on deck for this year. Earlier this year, Park Pride awarded $2.5 million to 25 neighborhood parks. It's our single largest grant cycle ever, with 67% of those dollars going into low-income neighborhoods. These capital improvements are going to neighborhoods that have often been overlooked. And related, the recent Moving Atlanta Forward bond package will direct nearly $150 million to recreation center and park improvements. These investments are similarly dispersed throughout the city. These investments have put Atlanta on the map. Atlanta is perceived nationally as a city on the rise. Due in large part to the expanding acreage and capital investments, Atlanta shot up in this past ranking of Trust for Public Lands Park Score, moving from 49th to 27th in a single year. This was the single largest rise of any city in the ranking for that year. However, I would caution you to assume that we will continue to rise unless we deal with the elephant in the room. It is an elephant that Atlanta's park users experience daily. The elephant is that all of these investments do nothing to address the week-over-week, year-over-year costs of implementing and adhering to park maintenance standards. Increases in the park maintenance budget have been minimal and have been done with little or no dialogue of actual need. Park maintenance has not been a priority for many years, and I think we all have experienced that firsthand. I think we can do better, and I think we deserve better. I think all of Atlanta deserves better. As I look around the room, I'm certain that most, if not all of you, have identified unmet maintenance needs at a park in your district and have taken the department to task in responding to those needs. I'm here to share that the issue is more pervasive than you may realize. A statistically valid survey seeking input for Activate ATL revealed 24% of respondents felt discouraged from using park amenities because they weren't well maintained. I think this is an issue that is different than what we see in other parts of the country, and it's something that jumped out from the folks that were doing the study. Park Pride and our advocates are paying attention to get better. We need to bring attention to bear. We need a robust public discussion to arrive at a goal that sets us on a path for day-to-day maintenance that parallels our recent gains in park improvements and park acreage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halicki. Before we move on to our next and final speaker, I do want to acknowledge that we have been joined by Councilmember Antonio Lewis. All right, our next speaker is Esther Stokes.
Thank you. My name is Esther Stokes, and I live at 66 Huntington Road Northeast in Brookwood Hills in District 6. I have been involved with Park Pride over many years, serving on the board for a total of 12 years, including serving as board chair. I have also been involved with other parks organizations in the city and currently serve on the board of Georgia Audubon. Atlanta's Department of Parks and Recreation has been underfunded all the years that I have been involved with Park Pride. Is this going in and out? The very neediest area in the department is parks maintenance. We simply do not have enough people. DPR needs real money to address these issues. The budget cycle should include a significant increase in the DPR budget. The stars seem to be aligning. We have a mayor who understands the significant role of parks in the life of Atlanta's residents and visitors. We have a new commissioner of Parks and Recreation who brings genuine Parks Department experience to the job, and he is working hard to understand the level of need in order to move the needle on parks maintenance. Properly funding parks maintenance in the Department of Parks and Recreation is long overdue. Properly funding parks maintenance will bring about substantial change that will be real and observable by the whole city. Please make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that concludes public comment. On to the next item is communications. We only have one item for communications. If you can read that caption, we'll take the necessary legislative action.
Item number 1 is 23C 5015, a communication by council members Jason Winston, District 1, Amir Faroki, District 2, Byron Amos, District 3, Jason Dozier, District 4, and Michael Julian Bond, Post 1 at large, appointing Ms. Sarah Butler to serve as a member of the Atlanta Beltline Affordable Housing Advisory Board. This appointment is for a term of 2 years.
Thank you, colleagues. With the time change, that created a kind of a ripple effect with some of the folks that we were going to have come before our body for approval, and this unfortunately was one of them. So Ms. Butler will not be here at this point, but at a future meeting she will be. I'm going ahead and move to hold. Second. Second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The motion to hold is accepted, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That concludes communications. I think that takes us to ordinances for first reading.
Item number 2 is 23O1102, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee waiving the requirements of Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 1, Section 2-910 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, and authorizing the mayor or his designee, including the Commissioner of the Department of City Planning, to apply for an Improving Neighborhood Outcomes in Disproportionately Impacted Communities grant from the state of Georgia's allotment of federal coronavirus state fiscal recovery fund in an amount not to exceed $750,000.00, and to enter into any necessary agreements for the acceptance of the implementation of the grant if awarded in order to support the visioning, planning, and designing of a memorial green space and park at the former site of the Chattahoochee Brick Company and for other purposes.
Thank you. Because it's a first read, we'll not be taking any action on this item this week. And takes us on to ordinances for second reading. Please sound the first caption.
Item number 3, 23O1067, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend Ordinance 22O1710 to correct the funding amount by adding funds to cover certain costs that were omitted from said ordinance and for other purposes.
We have Deputy Commissioner Doug Boss to speak to this.
Good afternoon, Chairman Dozier and members of council. This ordinance corrects a piece of legislation that was authorized in November of last year. It is for the acquisition of 3.65 acres of land in the South River Garden community. At the time, we had the purchase price, but we did not have all of the due diligence, the what we call clean and green, which includes demolition, and all those other types of prices that we can include in the legislation. So we're back today. The total amount of the change is $86,396.36, which would bring the total purchase price, due diligence, and purchase services cost to $208,396.36. The fees will be paid from the Development Impact South account. There are adequate funds for this purchase to be made. We're looking very forward to this finally being closed and being able to add this park to District 12, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilman Lewis.
I want to say thank you for pushing this so much. Ms. Shirley Nichols and myself, we ride past this space all the time. And I know what this has the potential to do. This has the potential to make Lake Charlotte Natural Preserve, once we connect them all, the largest park in the state of Georgia, or in the city of Atlanta. I know it compares to the West Side and Cook.
It does. It does.
So I'm excited about this, and I move to approval.
I'll second. Motion by Lewis, second by Dozier. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed.
Motion is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Item number 4, you'll find a substitute in your packet. Would the committee like to bring forward that substitute?
A motion to bring forth the substitute, second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
All right, the motion to bring forth the substitute is accepted, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Please read the caption.
It's 23-0-1070, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Winston is substituted by Community Development and Human Services Committee to amend the city's 2015-2019 consolidated plan, the 2023 Community Development Grant Fund budget, the 2015 Annual Action Plan budget, the 2016 Annual Action Plan budget, the 2017 Annual Action Plan budget, the 2018 Annual Action Plan budget, and the 2019 Annual Action Plan budget for the purpose of reprogramming Home Investment Partnership Program funding in an amount not to exceed $6,028,546.47, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Grants and Community Development to enter into service agreements with subrecipients for the purpose of executing various contractual agreements for projects that are assigned to the Department of Grants and Community Development and other departments of the city. All contracted work shall be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. We have Deputy Commissioner Nicole Barnes for the Department of Grants and Community Development. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
If you could talk to this legislation.
Absolutely. So I know during our last CDHS update, the commissioner spoke about the need to reprogram those older home funds. And so this is our ability to do so. So this is going back from 2015 through 2019, and we bundled them into separate legislations because it impacts their consolidated plan. And so the intention here is to fully expend, draw down those funds, and close out those grants. And so we've awarded those funds tentatively to Habitat for Humanity for some down payment assistance, Partners for Home, and Sylvan Hills to do some construction work. And so that's using our oldest funds, so 2015 through 2019.
Any questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll move to approve on substitute, second by Winston. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the item is approved on substitute, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Next item, again, has a substitute. These substitutes, by the way, just remove some language about a public hearing that's not needed and add an attachment.
Move to bring forth the substitute, second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The motion to bring forth the substitute is approved, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Please read in the caption.
It's 23-0-1071, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Winston is substituted by Community Development and Human Services Committee to amend the city's 2020-2024 consolidated plan, the 2023 Community Development Grant Fund budget, the 2020 Annual Action Plan budget, the 2021 Annual Action Plan budget, the 2022 Annual Action Plan budget, for the purpose of reprogramming for Home Investment Partnership Program, Home Program, in an amount not to exceed $4,757,115.69, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Grants and Community Development to enter into service agreements with subrecipients for the purpose of executing various contractual agreements for projects that are assigned to the Department of Grants and Community Development and other departments of the city. All contracted work shall be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Deputy Commissioner Barnes.
Yes, absolutely. So similar circumstance, these are from 20 to 22. So the 20 and the 21 contracts that you see listed in this chart are for reprogram funds. And then initially our 22 allocation, we didn't find appropriate recipients or developers, and so that includes those funds as well. And so we're going to fund some additional tenant-based rental assistance, some down payment assistance, and several construction projects as listed in the chart.
Any questions or comments from colleagues? Motion to approve by Winston on substitute, second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
This is approved on substitute, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item. Actually, before we move on to the next item, colleagues, if you will indulge me, items 8 and 9, I believe Deputy Commissioner Barnes are going to speak to these, so I'd like to move those forward so you can.
And 17,
And 17.
yes.
Is that, since 17 is a resolution, we'll have you come up,
Okay.
back up later
No
for
problem.
that, but we'll take the ordinances
Thank you
first.
so much. Thank you.
Item number 8.
Number 8 has a substitute as well. Would the committee like to bring that forward?
Motion to bring forth the substitute, second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the motion to bring forth the substitute carries, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next, or sorry, please read in the caption.
Item 8 is 2301085, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier as substituted by Community Development and Human Services Committee to amend the city's 2020 through 2024 consolidated plan, the 2022 intergovernmental grant fund budget, and the 2020 annual action plan for the purpose of reprogramming funds for Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Coronavirus Relief Act programs in an amount not to exceed $200,000.00, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Grants and Community Development to modify the Federal Entitlement Grants Services Agreement with Cohn-Resnick LLP to allocate additional housing opportunities for persons with AIDS Coronavirus Relief Act funding in an amount not to exceed $200,000.00 for a period not to exceed March 31, 2023, for the purposes of completion of environmental reviews for projects funded under the CDBG, Home, HOPWA, and ESG grant programs. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner Barnes.
Yes. So this ordinance speaks to increasing an existing contract. Cohen-Resnick has been assisting us on our CDBG and home projects. This is expanding their scope of work to also assist with those HOPWA-funded projects. So they do project management to include those environmental reviews. And as we're preparing to work towards buying housing with those HOPWA CAP contracts, they have to do that work as it relates to those environmental reviews, as it relates to environmental assessments specifically, phase 1s and phase 2s.
Any questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve on substitute. Second by Winston. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
This is
Vote.
favorable on, oh, sorry.
Vote is closed.
This is favorable on substitute, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Number 9, there's a substitute for this. It removes language about a public hearing. Would the committee like to bring that forward?
Yes, I would like to motion to bring forth the substitute. Second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Lots of substitutes today, y'all.
Vote is closed.
The motion to bring forth the substitute is adopted, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Please read the caption.
Item number 9, it's 2301086, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier as substituted by Community Development and Human Services Committee to amend the city's 2020 through 2024 consolidated plan, the 2022 intergovernmental grant fund budget, the 2020 annual action plan for the purpose of reprogramming funds for housing opportunities for persons with AIDS Coronavirus Relief Act programs in an amount of $903,164.22, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Grants and Community Development to enter into a contract agreement with project sponsor Jerusalem House in an amount not to exceed $788,164.22 modifying the contractual agreement with the project sponsor, Open Hand, Inc., to increase funding in an amount not to exceed $115,000.00. Both agreements for a period not to exceed March 31, 2023. All contracted work shall be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, Deputy Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you. So this ordinance speaks to our ability to reprogram funds. As Commissioner Lonan shared, some of our project sponsors had rescinded funding. Jerusalem House and Open Hand has agreed to contract with us and fully expend those HOPWA CV dollars so that we meet those federal requirements as it relates to that period of performance. And so this legislation allows them to go back through that period of performance and submit eligible expenses so that we can spend down our HOPWA dollars.
Any questions or comments from colleagues?
Yes.
Councilman Lewis.
How do we choose how are we marketing or how are we choosing the organizations that will be the grant recipients to help us spend the funding?
Absolutely. So we've changed our process. It's a NOFA process. And so what we've done as we implemented this monitoring strategy that helped us pay those reimbursements that backlog, we're assessing risk on a quarterly basis as well as monitoring both desk and full monitoring to kind of check on that capacity. During the NOFA, we also go out and do marketing and do training so that we're trying to get additional subrecipients and project sponsors involved. Jerusalem House has been our longest partner, and they have been very gracious in accepting these funds with a minimal time period, but they do have those expenditures and they're able to move forward with that. But as we're ramping up in preparation for our 2023 award, we have reinvented how we do a NOFA, where it's increased marketing, it's looking at that risk, it's really assessing those subrecipients' capacity to do this work. And we're also taking into consideration individuals that have previously rescinded funds. If they don't have the capacity to expend large sums of money, let's give them a realistic pot of money so that they can do the work and be successful as it relates to their, goals and intended outcomes of those grant applications.
And I ask that because I know in my district we have, I can think of two locations in which this funding could be used. I'm thinking about spaces that were built strictly with hospital funding and for folks with HIV and AIDS, and I don't see them. So I'm wondering how can I connect them, or how can we? Because they need. One of them actually made the nuisance list for the state of Georgia because they need some help over there at that space. So how can we get that stuff below I-20 as well? That's what I would like to meet with you on back end about that. How can I get some of these organizations involved? Because I know what they're doing. I'm watching them.
Yep, absolutely. So let's connect. And so when these NOFAs roll out, we can also spread that information. We do educational training so that they understand the federal rules and requirements as it relates to these funds because they're very strict. But absolutely, that connection is important. We're trying to market more, so involving more with public health organizations. HOPWA funds can go up to 29 counties surrounding Georgia, and so it doesn't have to be restrictive to the city of Atlanta. We have more flexibility with the impact that we make because we are one of the largest grantees.
I appreciate you. I would just like to work with you to make sure those folks on the south side of the city receive this funding because it's much needed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'd like to make the motion to approve on substitute, second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
This is favorable on substitute, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Colleagues, before we move on to the next item, and Ms. Barnes, I think we're done for now, at least on
thank you.
ordinances. Before we move to the next item, I know we had a number of folks join us for this meeting. We noticed or issued a public notice mid last week that we were changing the meeting time today. However, I know a lot of folks have come in and taken time out of their day to come and speak to us for public comment. So I will make the motion at the end of our meeting before general remarks, but I would like to hear from the folks that are here with us today. So folks who have come to speak at public comment, hold on, we'll get through the legislative items, and then we'll make a motion to try to put you on the agenda for public comment, and we'll go from there. But I believe a sheet of paper will be going out to, if you see Jared in the corner right here, please sign in there. and then we will make sure to take your name so that we spell it correctly for the record. On that note, next item is item number 6. So going back to our regular part of our agenda, item number 6, ordinance 23-0-1073.
Item number 6 is 23-0-1073, and a supplemental ordinance by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland and Jason Dozier, amending the certain ordinance number 20-0-1779, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on January 4th and approved by the mayor January 11th, 2021, relating to the city's housing opportunity program so as to acknowledge and approve use of an alternate benchmark interest rate and establishing the interest rate applicable to the Urban Residential Finance Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, taxable drawdown revenue bond, Series 2021, currently authorized in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $50 million and 0 cents. Approve an amendment to the second amended and restated intergovernmental housing cooperation agreement to reflect use of a replacement benchmark interest rate, provide for the enlargement of the authorized principal amount of the Series 2021 drawdown bonds subject to certain conditions precedent, authorize the mayor to acknowledge and agree to a first amendment to continuing covenant agreement in connection with the sale of the Series 2021 drawdown bond reflecting the amount benchmark rate, reflecting the replacement benchmark rate and an extended commitment termination date, and authorize certain related actions, all in connection with the Housing Opportunity Program financed through the Finance Authority's issuance of Series 2021 drawdown bond and for other related purposes.
Thank you, and I'm glad you read that in instead of me. So colleagues, we need to make an amendment to strike a word from the caption, specifically the word supplemental from the captions, just so that it comports with other similar legislation that has gone before this body. So I will make that motion to amend. Second by Winston. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The motion to amend is adopted, 5 yeas, 0 nays. We have Josh Humphreys who's going to speak to this. And Mr. Humphreys, if you could state your title for the public record, just because I don't think I have it down yet.
Hi, everyone. Josh Humphreys. As of today, still the Director of the Office of Housing and Community Development. I'll give you a new title soon. So this ordinance, basically what it does, when we created the Housing Opportunity Bond a couple years ago, set up as kind of a two-pronged approach to it. One was a drawdown bond of up to $50 million and then a secondary $100 million bond. The first $50 million, the way it was set up, it had a 3-year period and the opportunity to refinance out of it into the $100 million. But one of the things that we've learned is that the $50 million process, the drawdown, it allows us to only pay on what we've actually spent down on. And so it reduces our debt obligations on there. And so what we'd like to do with it is extend that period of time with that first portion, that $50 million, out through 2028, and also allow us to go up to $75 million under that. And so this really allows us to continue doing what we've been doing with the Housing Opportunity Bond Program, make sure that works successfully, and keep things moving forward. It's just a technical reset for our lenders in order to be able to keep that moving forward.
Any questions or comments from colleagues? And I will say I went through a much more extensive version of this presentation yesterday at the Invest Atlanta Finance meeting, and so I appreciate the long version and the short version. But with that being said, I will move to approve as amended. Second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
The item is favorable as amended, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Colleagues, please be advised that this is a dual referred item, so it'll go before Finance and Executive Committee tomorrow. All right, next item.
Item number 7, you'll find a substitute in your packet for this item as well. The substitute updates the project and award names to include the department code and fund code. Would the committee like to bring that substitute forward?
right, colleagues, I believe there's a substitute. I'll go ahead and move to bring forth the substitute. Second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed. And that's item number 7, 23-0-1079. An ordinance.
Do I need to read in the vote? 5 yeas, 0 nays,
Fine.
just for the record.
23-0-1079, item number 7, an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos as substituted by Community Development and Human Services Committee to authorize the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Workforce Development Agency, also known as WorkSource Atlanta, to accept a Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act dislocated worker grant for rapid response activities from the Technical College System of Georgia, Office of Workforce Development, in an amount of $100,000.00 to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY23 Job Training Grant Fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in an amount of $100,000.00 and for other purposes.
Thank you. We have Amy Lancaster King with WorkSource Atlanta. Good to see you.
Good to see y'all. Thank you for having me. So I'm Amy Lancaster King with WorkSource Atlanta. This is just a new grant, still from TCSG for $100,000 to cover rapid response work. So they've done some changes at the state level, and these funds were previously with the Georgia Department of Labor, and now they're through TCSG. So they're having a portion of these funds go to every area to assist with rapid response work. And what that means is when we receive a Warren notice, it will give us the resources needed to help those individuals that are being impacted by the Warren notices.
Any questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll motion to approve on substitute. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
All right, it's favorable on substitute. Next item.
Item
5
number
yeas, 0
10.
nays, sorry. Caught myself there.
It's item number 10, and it is 23-0-1096, an ordinance by council members Dustin Hillis, Jason Winston, Amir Faroki, Byron D. Amos, Jason Dozier, Liliana Bakhtiari, Alex Wan, Howard Shook, Mary Norwood, Andrea L. Boone, Michael Julian Bond, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Antonio Lewis, and Matt Westmoreland, authorizing the establishment of a board for the purpose of promoting public trust in the reuse of the former site of the Chattahoochee Brick Company and engaging in a transparent, thoughtful, inclusive, and collaborative process for the visioning, planning, and designing of the site as a memorial, green space, and park, and for other purposes.
We have Commissioner Janae Prince with Department of City Planning. Good to see you.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here. This is a very straightforward one. We're creating a board, an 11-member board, to be the advisory board for the Chattahoochee Brick Memorial Site. It's going to include local community members and topic experts, and it will function as all the other city boards do, what do they call that? The BACE, all those boards.
Well, any questions or comments from colleagues? I know Councilmember Hillis isn't on this committee anymore, but I know he's excited about this. He's been working hard for several years to get this off the ground. So I'm sure he would say that he's excited and ready.
We're really excited about it too. It's going to be a great project.
I'll move approval. Second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed. It's 5 yeas and 0 nays. It may display here in a minute.
The computer is computering. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion is adopted. Next item. I think that actually concludes ordinances, so that takes us to resolutions.
Correct. Item number 11 is 23R3143, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston to authorize the Atlanta Fulton County Recreation Authority on behalf of the Stadium Neighborhoods Community Trust Fund Committee to award grants in a total amount not to exceed $200,000.00 to fund various community service projects to benefit the Atlanta neighborhoods of Mechanicsville, Peoplestown, Pittsburgh, Summerhill, and a portion of Grant Park, and for other purposes.
Councilmember Winston, did you want to add anything to this?
Move approval.
Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The mover and the second, could you repeat that?
The mover was Winston, second was Amos.
Thank you. The vote is open. Vote is closed.
Motion carries
4 yeas and 0
4
nays.
yeas, 0 nays. And before we move to the next item, just to state again, we will do an additional round of public comment before we wrap up today. So I know we've had a few people come in. But just want to acknowledge that, just so that folks who didn't see the notice about the change in the meeting time still have an opportunity to speak to us and let us know what is on your mind. All right, next item, number 12.
Item number 12, 23R3144, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta and the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Grant Park Conservancy for a base term of 5 years with an option to renew for one additional 5-year term for the restoration, maintenance, and beautification of Grant Park and for other purposes.
Deputy Commissioner Voss.
Thanks, Chairman Dozier, Doug Voss, Department of Parks and Recreation. As stated, the Grant Park Conservancy has had an agreement with the city since about 2005. During that time, they have taken on many, many restoration, maintenance, and beautification projects that benefit both the citizens and visitors, of which there are many, to Grant Park. In recent years, they have restored the Millage Fountain, which, if you've seen that, came out wonderful. And they've also added a number of picnic and pavilion shelters throughout the park. So we are looking forward to re-entering into an agreement. This will be for 5 years with a 5-year renewal, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Motion by Winston, second by Amos. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
And the vote is closed.
Motion carries 4 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Item number 13, 23R3145, a resolution by Council members Jason Winston and Matt Westmoreland authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $75,000.00 to House Proud to support the emergency home repairs for legacy residents in order to help prevent displacement and for other purposes.
Winston, do you have anything?
No, just happy to add to this donation. I know that Councilmember Dozier also contributed funds from his district account, and so we can continue to do the work of serving the seniors and legacy residents of our city. So thank you. Move approval.
Second. I will second. Motion by Winston, second by Dozier. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
And the motion carries 4 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Item number 14, 23R3146, a resolution by Council members Matt Westmoreland and Keisha Shawn Waits to encourage Atlanta Public Schools to include coursework about the history of Atlanta into their curriculum by developing a new state-approved course entitled Atlanta History that will serve to satisfy a unit of social science education and for other purposes.
Well, I know Councilmember Westmoreland and Councilmember Waits are out today, but I think this is a great piece of legislation. I think it's important as we talk about getting our next generation better, more involved in civic engagement and activism, understanding the history of Atlanta is a key component of that, and so I'm excited to see where this takes us. So I'll go ahead and move approval. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Motion is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Item number 15, 23R3147, a resolution by Council members Matt Westmoreland, Jason Winston, Dustin Hillis, Alex Wan, Byron Amos, Michael Julian Bond, Jason Dozier, Keisha Shawn Waits, Liliana Bakhtiari, Andrea L. Boone, Marcy Collier Overstreet, and Antonio Lewis requesting, in conjunction with the City of Atlanta's Year of the Youth, the Commissioner of the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Chief Financial Officer conduct a study to determine the feasibility of eliminating usage fees for Atlanta Public Schools athletic teams at city fields, athletic courts, swimming pools, and other parks and recreation facilities, and for other purposes.
Colleagues, the sponsor actually asked us to hold this paper. I do not remember why, but I'm going to honor that ask. So I'll motion to hold, second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The motion to hold is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item. We can take it at the end. So we can go on to number 17.
Number 17 is 23R 3151, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier to amend Resolution 22R 3716 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 21, 2022, and approved per City Charter, Section 2-403 on June 29, 2022, to update the funding accounts to reflect the correct account from which the awarded project will be charged to and paid from for the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Capital Project Agreement with Affordable Housing Solutions, Inc., awarded in an amount not to exceed $226,768.00 and for other purposes.
Deputy Commissioner Barnes.
Absolutely. Thank you. So this resolution just changes the funding string. Initially, it was charged to 21, but as you know, our HOP 119 funds are soon expiring, so we're just adding that funding string so we can more quickly expend those funds.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, motion to approve by Bakhtiari. I will second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Thank you.
And the vote is closed.
Motion is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Item number 18, 23R 3159, a resolution by council members Liliana Bakhtiari and Matt Westmoreland authorizing the city of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $75,000 and 0 cents to Neighbor in Need to support emergency home repairs for legacy residents in order to help prevent displacement and for other purposes.
Councilmember Bakhtiari, you want to speak to this?
Yes, our Neighbor in Need program, for those who don't know, helps, as it says here, helps legacy neighbors stay in their home. And right now, we're at an all-time high for seniors that are fighting to stay in their homes and make sure their homes are actually repaired. So this will go a long way to ensure that we're protecting our seniors in both Kirkwood and Eastlake. So I move to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Item is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That takes us to item number 19.
Item 19, 23R 3199, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee supporting the Chattahoochee River Greenway Study from the Atlanta Regional Commission titled The Chattahoochee Riverlands on behalf of the City of Atlanta, requesting that the City of Atlanta Departments of City Planning, Parks and Recreation, Watershed Management, Transportation, and all other city departments utilize the guidance in the Chattahoochee Riverlands to create a seamless public realm along the river while promoting a safe and connected corridor, a common ground for everyone, an ecological refuge for the regions, and a living legacy of conservation and education, and to work with the study's project management team, Chattahoochee Working Group, and stakeholders to implement the vision and for other purposes.
Commissioner Prince.
This is simply a resolution to show our support for the Chattahoochee Riverlands planning effort, which includes the Chattahoochee Brick site, but also all the parks along the Chattahoochee and all of the trails.
Any questions or comments from colleagues? I'll go ahead and move approval. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Item is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That takes us back to item number 16.
Correct. Item number 16 is 23R 3148, a resolution by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond to request Neighbor in Need assist elderly residents of 2937 Larchmont Court with the permitting and repairs needed to facilitate the replacement of windows that have deteriorated due to age and for other purposes.
Is the council member still on the way? Okay. I'll go ahead and move to approve this resolution, and on its face, I don't see anything super problematic with it. It's very specific, but I'll go ahead and move approval. Second by Amos. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the item is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That concludes resolutions. We do not have any papers held in committee that we're bringing forth today. And then, thank you. And then we don't have any walk-in legislation. So, colleagues, before we move on to general remarks, I would like to take unanimous consent to reopen public comment, recognizing the time change, how it's impacted a number of people. So I would like to do that. All in favor say aye? Okay. All right. So I've been chairing this committee for 13 months. It's the first unanimous consent I've done, so bear with me. All right, so with that being said, we have, firstly, before we take the first speaker, for those of y'all who have not done public comment with us before, we give 3 minutes, and then at the 30-second mark, I'll whisper gently into the microphone that you have 30 seconds remaining. So number one. Number two, just so y'all know, the reason why we moved today's meeting is because we had a number of colleagues, either through previous commitments or medical appointments or things like that. We wanted to make sure we had quorum so that we got through our legislative agenda. So please don't take it as any offense if colleagues have to step away, but we moved this meeting because we wanted to make sure that we had everyone here to navigate the legislative agenda. So with that being said, well, I guess number three, please extend me some grace if I mispronounce a name. I'm gonna do my best, and if I mispronounce it, please correct me at the microphone. So on that note, Foluke Nunn, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, and yes, you pronounced it correctly. So thank you all so much for accommodating us. So again, my name is Foluke Nunn, and I am a community organizer with the Atlanta Economic Justice Program of the American Friends Service Committee. I am here with a group of Forest Cove residents today to let you know that the true story of the relocation process is not being told. Before I explain, I must emphasize that we appreciate the involvement of the city. The residents would probably still be at Forest Cove today if you all had not intervened. At the same time, we need to make sure that the residents are being treated with the care, respect, and dignity that they deserve as part of this process. Today is not the first time that grievances have been raised. I, Housing Justice League, AVLF, and CORE have called out the ways in which this process was not working for residents from the start, but we were brushed off, and the issues were not fully addressed by the rest of the relocation team. We are coming to City Council because we don't know what else to do to finally have the concerns of residents taken seriously. During the summer and early fall, while the moving process was underway, residents experienced a host of issues, which I will elaborate on in a follow-up email to you. My hope was that everything would be smooth once residents were off-site, but the trouble has continued. As of today, many residents have still not received furniture for their new units. Properties have received resident rents late for months in a row now, including this month, which in some cases has led to evictions being filed. There is still a lot of confusion about how residents are supposed to pay their share of rent to Millennia. APD Urban and Millennia repeatedly failed to provide AVLF with the information they need to serve the residents in a timely manner. Though many residents have been relocated to units that are a major improvement compared to Forest Cove, many others are experiencing significant living conditions issues, even though the units were apparently inspected before move-in. This is just a snapshot of what I've been hearing. Several residents are here today to share more about their experiences with you. As you listen, remember that their concerns have been ignored, dismissed, and minimized throughout this entire process. We need you to be advocates for them, ask tough questions of the relocation team, and provide some of the thorough oversight that this process desperately needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Felicia Morris.
Good morning. I'm one of our residents of Forest Grove Apartments, and I would like to know, would y'all please let us go back? Please, because they sent us out to different places around the area of Atlanta. It ain't working out. I get on notice every other month about my rent not being paid. And I don't know if I'm gonna get put out. I would like to know, would y'all please let us go back home? Please. It's not convenient where we at. Things ain't right. I'm asking, please, let us go home. Please.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Samisha Willis.
Good afternoon. I'm Miss Willis. I am one of the inhabitants that moved from the Forest Cove property. Today, I want to call into action the circumstances about what this relocation has meant for all of us. The possibility of being migrated and uprooted again is extremely dampening. This issue is causing pressure and disappointment for me as well as my daughter to continue to need to be, excuse me, the continued need to be evacuated and change areas in school is influencing my little girl's psychological well-being, and her uneasiness to continue to be the new kid in school is a ton on her. Likewise, with my little girl coming from Thomasville Heights as her past school, it's shame around her that she's an issue kid because she came from that kind of climate in school. I realize this issue perhaps is influencing different families that are part of the relocation as well. Also, during the relocation process, my old apartment was cleared out before I moved all my things out. I lost many of my belongings. I still can't seem to make up for these things. I have not been offered any type of reimbursement. It has caused a great deal of stress. Additionally, Millennium is not put washing and dryers in our units when they rebuild Forest Cove. I feel like we ought to have sufficient access to in-home washers and dryers. As you see, I'm a larger size lady, as well as a few inhabitants such as myself. We can't scroll to and from an on-site laundromat office because of our well-being. I likewise feel that this is a place where people and individuals can gather and cause turmoil and ruin. Residents should have more of a say-so how the redevelopment is going to look. We need to be able to guarantee that we have satisfactory lodging and that meets our needs. Thank you for permitting me to talk for my sake and the benefit of the other residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tanika Thomas.
Hello, my name is Tanika. I'm also a resident of Forest Season. I'm at Forest Cove Apartments. Okay, my experience at my relocation, when I first moved there, I was having paranoia because of what I went through at Forest Cove. I was thinking, I was seeing visions of rats and stuff like that, But since the months went on, I've kind of calmed down, But when I first moved there, full of flies and stuff from coming out the sink, and Renoff would tell me there's nothing they could do about that. But now, since that's gone, everything is fine now in my new apartment. And I want to talk about, they're saying we have to go back. They're going to rebuild or fix our apartment, and they're not told us anything, what we're going to do now in the process. But they're saying we might have to go back. And I'm thinking, if we do have to go back, it should be something that we would like what they're putting us in now, the spacious apartment, safe environment, gated community, something that that we could be comfortable in. And I'm not talking about it should be luxury, like a swimming pool and stuff like that, but something that's comfortable for us, you know. That's all I want to say.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Tim Franzen.
Valentine's, y'all, and thank you for having the grace to allow us to be up here today. It was a little confusing with the schedule. I'm actually, for every Forest Cove resident that's here, there are about 15 that couldn't make it. And they didn't all get an opportunity to write a letter, but a few of them did, and I'm going to read a letter from Yolanda Tamplin, who's at work today, but she's also a Forest Cove resident. Good evening. She wasn't sure what time it was. Good evening. My name is Yolanda Tamplin, and I'm a former Forest Cove resident. My concerns are, where do we go from here? I believe we were moved out with a plan funding us for a year, but at the same time, we're told it's going to take more than a year to build Forest Cove. There's not enough affordable housing around, and it don't seem like nothing is really out here for low-income people. What are we to do? Well, we have to go through this process over again, not knowing we will have somewhere safe to live. Will we end up being homeless? My lease is up June 15th, and I have no idea what is next. Thanks, everyone, for hearing my concerns. Yolanda Tamplin. Now, I know that everything going on at Forest Cove is not under y'all's purview, but we sure would appreciate. There has been a system that's set up, and if that system is played out the way it's supposed to, there won't be anybody getting late notices. There won't be anybody getting eviction notices. I mean, the money is all there. It's just an efficiency issue. So we hope that today, on this Valentine's Day, y'all would have a little love, maybe go that extra mile, make that extra phone call, say what's going on with this. We know that y'all can do it, and we ask you just to fit that into your busy schedule this week. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, before I actually say these next two names, I just want to make sure I understand the writing correctly. Latricia Cheney and Nakisha Copeland, are you yielding time to Sharon North? Am I interpreting this correctly? Okay, are you yielding time? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for the clarification. All right, Latricia Cheney.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Love Day. And my question to the City Council is, where is the love for Forest Cove residents? My name is Latricia Cheney again, and I am one of the displaced residents, one of the displaced tenants of 399 families from Forest Cove. My family and I moved into Forest Cove in 2013, where Global Ministries was the property owner. And in 2017, Millennia became management of Forest Cove. And I learned my rights as a tenant, and I became a tenant leader, one of the tenant leaders of Forest Cove. Staying on this property, we didn't get much help as far as safety. And we have the falsified inspections, housing inspections. Mold, mildew, just tearing our families apart mentally as well as physically. Millennia Housing Management consistently benefits from federal subsidies and tax incentives while leaving the residents of Forest Cove to suffer in poorly maintained and unsafe conditions. Across this country, the United States of America, Millennia has demonstrated a pattern of neglecting repairs and harassing tenants who attempt to organize in Forest Cove. Millennia tenants lived in horrible conditions that have gone years without being properly addressed. I asked the city of Atlanta, I asked the state of Georgia, and I asked federally HUD to hold Millennia accountable for the misconduct, mistreatment, and for breaking Forest Cove's tenants' housing contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cheney. Up next is Sharon North.
Good afternoon. Right now, I'm down here, and I should be at the hospital. My daughter is fighting for her life, but I have to continue on with this. My name is Sharon North. I'm a tenant at Forest Grove Apartments. As you all know, the living condition was not fit for a dog. On top of that, we finally relocated. My experience with the relocation have not been good at all. We was promised to have transportation for our kids if we wish to keep them in the school district. Farninger, a lot of, they told us about resources we did not get. The communication is bad. What you see on news is not happening. What you see on news is not what's going on. When we moved, I had to pay for a lot of things out of my pocket because some of the items they said they couldn't put on the truck to move. If that wasn't bad enough, I moved to these apartments called Perch South, and Nina is the manager. She was really rude and unprofessional. I don't know if because of where we came from or she just had bad manners. A lot of residents feel the same. We don't even know where we're going to be after this year. We have not had any direct communication saying after this year where we going. My hope is that we can really get some real help and answers, and that we should all have safe and affordable houses. We love our kids just as well as you all love yours. My son was able to go to college, and I've been able to do it with these living conditions. I'm hurt, I'm tired, but I will not stop fighting. I hope y'all listen to me, and someone have a heart. I don't know where the money going, I don't know what they're doing with it, but it's not going to us. Thank y'all for listening to me, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Ms. North. Nakisha Copeland. Did I say it correctly that time?
Hi, it's not Keisha Copeland. But
sorry.
that's okay. Hi, is everybody?
Good evening.
Okay, so I tried to keep my statement like only 2 minutes, so I couldn't go all day about what the experience I really went through, so I just tried to keep it short and sweet. I lived in Forest Cove for years. My living experience wasn't pleasant. Examples: no air, mold, crime, rodents, and infestations due to negligence that caused my emotional distress. The apartments fell apart through the years. They wasn't fully renovated. They were patched up per se. We went through a lot, including different management. I was excited when I moved away. It was long overdue. I am thankful for another apartment, but I am literally in the same situation. It's depressing. I wasn't able to cook on my stove for the 3 major holidays, which was Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, actually for several months, or have proper heating and air due to my unit not being thoroughly inspected. Once it was inspected, they found a lot of deficiencies were found inside of my unit. Currently, right now, my issues are getting worked upon, and hopefully they will be resolved. I feel laws need to be enforced to protect tenants. Landlords should be held accountable and fined for indecent living. We deserve a stress-free life and safe, livable conditions. Thanks for thanks for listening. I would like to add, through everything in my experience, I gotta give, my daughter is my inspiration. She's 15, and despite of all of this, what we've been through, she's still been able to maintain her A+. In school, she's still on honor roll, and I mean, it's a lot. I try not to break in front of her. I try to be strong, and we just hold hands, we pray about it, and God pulls us through. And thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Copeland. Up next is Valerie Nimby. Did I say that correctly? Wimby.
That's my auntie. That's my family.
All right.
Good afternoon. I'm Valerie Wimby. I'm a resident of Forest Cove. Also, the relocation has been a terrible, terrible process. I hope we can get better with it and know we're going forward and where we're going to be going to, because the time is approaching. And my relocation with moving, I had to get my own truck at the end. Also, they had me waiting. Furniture was still in the house. They was about to shut the apartments down, board them up. I had to find somebody to help me with that. I had to rent my own truck. It just been a terrible, terrible process with Forest Cove. Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Wimby. Up next is Allison Johnson.
Good afternoon, everybody. Allison with Housing Justice League. I hope you all have heard the cries from the tenants of Forest Cove. And you understand these stories are not just stories to be told, they are stories for resolutions. For so many years, as we have built our relationships with residents in Forest Cove, the narrative is that the residents somehow caused these issues to happen to themselves. And we all know that's not true. So going forward, you will be hearing from the narratives of the residents about how they want to come back into their community. Forest Cove was a 400-unit affordable housing complex. Many of these residents would no longer ever be able to afford what's out here today. So the cry is not just because of the conditions in which they live, but they are also a cry to what they deserve. Every tenant in this city and state deserves to have a safe, decent, affordable place to live. And we don't have that any longer. The process in terms is horrible, and it's almost disrespectful. These tenants have been fighting for more than 5 years about the relocation process and what they are having to endure. So we come here today talking not just about the conditions, but also about how do we protect our tenants in the city of Atlanta. These tenants have worked tirelessly around the clock to build policies that will protect them in their spaces. We are here today just not to say, oh, the process is horrible, but how do tenants show up in this process? Where's their voice? Who is their speaker? They are their own speakers. They write their own stories. And the story here today is that the city of Atlanta has to come on board with more tenant protections. We are fighting, and most of you are really engaged and involved and serious about creating a tenants advocacy office. So this is a part of that plan, is to tell you how that evolves, what it all curtails and what it entails. Now, under all of this process is really undergirded in what the tenants in the city of Atlanta, how they want to show up as a partner. But if you really want to show up as a partner with the tenants, consider the Tenants' Bill of Rights that has been put on your table. We have to move forward with that. But at the same time, These tenants must be able to come back to a place where their children not just can live, but they can flourish and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Our,
Got something for you, candy. Happy Valentine's Day.
thank
Sorry.
you so much. Our final speaker is Brother Anthony Mohammed. And then after you're done, Mr. Mohammed, I know my colleagues might have something to say, so we'll do general remarks after you're done.
I'm talking to Mr. Shipman because I don't like the way we continue our opportunity to come to these committees and you all come with a disposition that it's not of the will of humanity. I am that I am. A niggas, king of kings, committed indigenous antiquity, spiritual being. I command the dark matter mama of the cosmos. I command the ancestors. I command the dark mama of the cosmos to teach you, dark matter people. You are the first peoples of civilization. You're the first created peoples of civilization. The dark matter mama of the cosmos, as above, as below, want you to know I got your back. She give you your soul for energy. She give you the Acosta records, your own information of your history, of your family tree, the wonderful civilization that we created. And the Father of the earth wants you, miseducated Negro, to realize that you are a spiritual being. All humans are spiritual, but the Father of the earth wants you to know I got your back, dark matter men. Your mental abilities can be made into physical manifestation. And the daughters of the earth, you must return to the mother of the cosmos. Mama wants you to know you are the first creation on the earth. Feminine energy, you masculine energy has to return back to your will because the duality and the polarity has to come back in unity with one. And the sun, S-U-N, not S-O-N. I want you to know we all have the power to create. I want to be very clear today. You members of this council, dark matter people don't need to continue to beg and come down and ask you to do right by them. But look what you continue to do to the dark matter people. During the administration, the dark people look like you. Atlanta loses a $4 million in federal grant to train lower skilled workers. This started with Miss Shirley Franklin, go really back. But let's go back to Miss Keisha Lance Bottom. Atlanta returned $1.3 million in unspent workforce development money. And with Mr. Dix, you know I respect you, brother. But when you got $10 million, go back to help rental assistance, go back to the federal government, what do that mean about y'all? Now look, we got a former city of Atlanta official convicted of accepting bribes. I was here when Ms. McQueen was the Public Workers Commissioner. I remember what went down with that. You all weren't here, but you're not speaking for the interests of the people. You come here and sit in these chairs and get this money, almost $100,000. To do what? You got these ladies out here crying, and you don't want to recognize the majority of y'all are peoples of what? Color. Now it's over it right. Always show you respect. But I don't think it's respectful for you to sit up there and don't tell them, we're going to do something. We're going to do something, Mr. Dozier. I didn't greet you as I come. Assalamu alaikum. Mount Metro Hotel. Ashe, Ashe, and Ashe.
Thank you, Brother Mohammed. All right, colleagues, this concludes public comment. Our next item on the agenda is general remarks. Councilmember Lewis.
I wanted to speak to public comment, if you don't mind. When I seen Ms. Wemby come up, I grew up spending at her house with Raphael Wemby and with Kendrell Wemby. And so I played high school basketball with Ralph. He was in my wedding. And so I remember just how nicely kept your house always was, how sparkling, you can eat off the floor almost growing up. And it was in 4 seasons. That's part of why I fight for a pavilion place so hard, because I know we got 3-bedroom apartments out there, and I know they ain't gonna do us right on the back end. And so I heard you full out. I will be reaching out. I'll be standing with my council member. I know who's working hard on this. I know you're working hard on this. Councilmember Jason Winston, but I heard you full out. I'm here for you full out. I will be making sure that you got my information. I'll make the phone calls. I'll give you my phone so you can make the phone calls if you need to, Ms. Wimby, as we leave. So I appreciate you and Councilmember Winston, and the mayor, you got my, whatever you need me to do, I implore you to use me on this. I implore you to use me on this. Raphael Wimby, he was in my wedding. That's one of my best friends. So I'm sorry you got to come down here today, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis. Councilmember Winston.
Thank you. I just wanted to also comment to the public comment. I just want to thank my Forest Cove family for coming here. I've been in this battle with you for over a year now, and so just want to let you know that we will continue to fight on your behalf. And that being said, after this meeting is adjourned here in a few moments, I'm willing to meet with any members of Housing Justice League as well as the Forest Cove community that wants to meet outside of the committee room after this meeting. So thank you all for coming down here.
Thank you, Councilmember Winston. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Allison, where's Allison? There she is. I know that we did a lot of work on the Access to Counsel program, which is just barely a start to fight to give free access to lawyers in the areas where people are getting hit the hardest by predatory evictions. We've barely made a dent. So I need to sit back down again with you, AVLF, CORE, see what we can do to do things to prepare our kids, to make sure that I can help with Forest Cove. Same thing that Councilmember Lewis said. Councilor Winston, whatever you need, to our Director of Housing back there, however I can help. And thank you all for taking the time today to come down here, because I know how busy you are and I know it's not easy to get down here. And I'll be very honest with you, I had no idea it had gotten so bad, and that is on me. So I'm really appreciative that you let us know. I'll also be out there to give out my information, see whatever I can do. Tim Franzen has known me since I was 18, so if you ever need me, just let him know. And also let Allison know, but I will always, always, always be a phone call away. Allison, I look forward to sitting back down with you and figuring out what else we can do to get that tenant bill of rights off the ground. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilmember Bakhtiari. Any other general remarks? And I just want to say, I do see there's some members of my Mechanicsville family in the room, so I'll be sure to touch base with y'all after the meeting as well. All right, with that, that concludes our meeting. Happy Valentine's Day. Meeting is adjourned.